They say death is the only guarantee in life, but no one ever tells you how much it teaches you about living. This morning, a 70-year-old man passed away. No headlines, no fanfare, just silence. And yet his story is the kind we can all learn from. Because here's the thing, he didn't go suddenly. He didn't die in some tragic, shocking way. He passed quietly in his sleep. But what led up to that moment is where the lessons are. And they're not just for him. They're for me. They're for you. Especially if you're over 60 and starting to ask the big questions about health, happiness, and what really matters. You see, moments like these remind us just how fragile life is and how powerful the small choices we make each day can be. In this video, we're not going to mourn. We're going to reflect. And more importantly, we're going to talk about what we can actually do with the time we still have. Because there's always time to feel better, to move with more energy, to reconnect with people we care about, and to make peace with the past. We'll explore some powerful lessons drawn from this man's final years. Lessons about routine, relationships, regrets, and resilience. I'll share what he struggled with and what he finally got right. By the end, you might just walk away with a few shifts that could change your life. For the better, let's start at the beginning, where most days begin. Mornings. Now this man, let's call him Ray, used to wake up around 10:30 every morning. Not because he was lazy, but because after retirement, time felt loose. His mornings blended into afternoons. Some days, he didn't even bother getting dressed. And over time, that lack of structure chipped away at him. First physically, then mentally. You'd be surprised how much damage a disorganized morning can do over the years. Here's what we can learn from that. Having a morning routine, even a simple one, can add life to your years. Ray didn't realize that the way you start your morning is the way you shape your day. When he finally began getting up earlier, around 7:30, things slowly shifted. He started by just making coffee, stretching a little, stepping outside, and sitting quietly with his thoughts. No phone, no TV, just quiet. Then he'd take a short walk, even if just around the block. That one change gave his body rhythm again. It helped his sleep, his digestion, his mood. Now, I know not everyone's a morning person, but the lesson here isn't about being up with the sunrise. It's about claiming the first hour of your day on your terms. Whether that means sipping tea by the window, watering your plants, journaling for 5 minutes, or saying a little prayer, it makes a difference. You don't have to overhaul your entire life. Just start with the morning. Because here's the truth, a slow, steady morning can ground you more than any medication ever could. Now let's talk about movement. Ray hated the word exercise. To him, it meant spandex, gym memberships, and misery. But what he loved, gardening. He could spend hours pulling weeds, trimming branches, and talking to his tomato plants like they were old friends. And you know what? That was exercise. The mistake he made for years was thinking he had to work out like he was 30 again. He'd try walking 5 miles out of nowhere, pulling a muscle, then giving up for months. Sound familiar? Eventually, he figured out consistency beats intensity every single time. He started doing little things, like pacing around the house during commercial breaks, standing up every 30 minutes just to stretch, or walking the perimeter of the backyard twice before dinner. You don't need fancy routines. You need momentum. And momentum starts with movement, tiny movements done often. Because when your body gets stiff, it's not just your joints that lock up, it's your mindset too. But when you move, even just a little, you tell your body, hey, I'm still here. I've still got things to do. Ray once said, it's not that I couldn't move. It's that I forgot how good it feels when I do. We all forget sometimes, but we can remember again. It's not too late. Now, let's talk about something a bit heavier. Loneliness. Ray had friends once, golf buddies, a brother he used to call on Sundays. But somewhere along the way, after a move, after losing his wife, those connections faded. Not all at once, just little by little, like dust settling on a photo frame. He wouldn't admit it first, but he was lonely. Not the, I don't have anyone around kind. The, I don't feel seen anymore kind. There's a difference. The truth is, many people over 60 carry a quiet loneliness. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it weighs you down all the same. And left unchecked, it becomes a thief. It steals your motivation, your joy, your reason to get out of bed. Ray eventually did something brave. He started volunteering at the local library, just shelving books, chatting with people, showing a kid how to use the old card catalog. Nothing fancy, but it gave him a reason to show up. And the best part? He made new friends at 69. If you're watching this and thinking, it's too late for me, I want you to know it isn't. You're not done. You're not invisible. You matter. And sometimes the first step to feeling connected again is simply showing up somewhere you haven't been before. Because connection doesn't always knock. Sometimes you got to go out and find it. Let's pause there for a moment. We've talked about mornings, movement, and that quiet wait no one likes to admit, loneliness. And already, you can see that Ray's life wasn't just about how it ended. It was about the lessons it left behind. Now, let's keep going. There's something else about Ray I haven't mentioned yet, and it's one of the things that stuck with me most. He was always waiting for the right time, waiting for the right weather, waiting for the perfect mood to start things. You know how that goes. We tell ourselves we'll go visit a friend next week, or we'll finally clean out that drawer when we're feeling more energetic. But next week becomes next month, and one drawer becomes a whole room that never gets touched. Ray spent years like that, trapped in the waiting room of his own life. And the funny part? He wasn't lazy. He just believed deep down that later was always an option. But life isn't always so patient. One day, he finally snapped out of it. I remember him telling me about an old guitar he used to play when he was younger. It sat untouched in his closet for decades. He didn't think he had the fingers for it anymore, or that he could remember the chords. But one quiet Tuesday, he pulled it out, tuned it, plucked a few strings. It sounded terrible, honestly, but he laughed, really laughed, like he hadn't in years. That's the thing. Perfection is the enemy of joy. Waiting until you feel ready often means waiting forever. And at this stage in life, time is no longer something to hoard. It's something to spend wisely and joyfully. So here's what we can take from that. Do the thing, even badly. Paint the picture, even if it's messy. Dance in the kitchen, even if no one's watching. Wear that bold scarf or goofy hat or bright lipstick. Life isn't a dress rehearsal. It's the main event. One of the greatest regrets Ray had, and he said this more than once, was how often he told himself, not now. It kept him from living fully, from reconnecting with old friends, from writing letters he always meant to send, from saying, I love you when it really mattered. So if there's something you've been putting off, don't wait. Send the message, make the visit, take the photo, bake the pie. Whatever it is, you won't regret doing it. You'll only regret the time you spent convincing yourself you couldn't. Now, speaking of regrets, let's talk about something a little more personal. Forgiveness. Ray held on to a lot of things. Old arguments, a falling out with his son, guilt about not being there more for his wife in her final months. And every time the topic came up, you could see it in his eyes. That weight, that heaviness. You see, growing older doesn't magically erase the past. If anything, it brings it closer. Memories become sharper. Moments you thought you forgot come back with more detail than ever. And if you haven't made peace with them, they linger like shadows in a room. What Ray learned, what he earned really, was that forgiveness doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It means choosing peace over punishment. For yourself, not just the other person. He never got a big Hollywood moment of reconciliation with his son. No tearful airport reunion or dramatic scene. But he did write a letter. A real one with pen and paper. He told his son how proud he was, how sorry he was, and that he'd always be there no matter what. He never knew if it was read, but writing it freed him. It gave him peace. That alone made it worth it. If you're carrying something heavy, resentment, guilt, old pain, you're not alone. But you don't have to keep carrying it. Forgiveness is not a gift for the other person. It's a gift for you. And sometimes, even if the other person never hears it, just saying it out loud can lift the weight. Life's too short to keep reliving the same old wounds, especially when healing is within reach. Now, here's another lesson Ray passed on, and it might surprise you. He never used to talk about food all that much, but in his last few years, he became a bit of a soup connoisseur. Chicken noodle, split pea miso. He swore by it, said it made him feel young again, in his words. What he really meant, though, was that he finally paid attention to how food made him feel, not just how it tasted. For decades, he lived off processed stuff, easy meals, TV dinners, soda with every lunch. He didn't think much of it. He was just trying to get by. But it caught up with him. Sluggishness, bloating, trouble sleeping, joint pain. The usual suspects. Once he started eating real, simple food, things he could pronounce, things that came from the earth, his energy changed. Not in a miracle cure kind of way, but enough to notice. Enough to start choosing differently. He wasn't perfect, still had a sweet tooth, but he learned something important. Food isn't just fuel, it's feedback. It tells you how your body's doing, what it needs, where it's struggling. Now, I'm not here to tell you to become a nutritionist overnight, but maybe, just maybe, try asking yourself, how does this make me feel after I eat it? Do I feel light, tired, energized, achy? And go from there. Ray's rule was simple. If it comes in a box with cartoon characters on it, maybe don't make it your main course. That made me smile. Still does. He cooked more toward the end, just for himself. Small meals, but with care, with intention, and it brought him joy. It reminded him that he was still in charge of his own body, still capable of caring for it, even in small ways. And that's a good reminder for all of us. So let's take a breath. We've walked through a few big things already, waiting too long to start, carrying burdens that need releasing, and the quiet power of feeding yourself well. These may sound like small details, but they're not. They're the texture of life. Yours, mine, Ray's. And when you look closely, you'll find that it's not the dramatic moments that shape us most, it's the quiet choices we make over and over again. And then there was the moment Ray realized he was running out of time. Now, I know that sounds heavy, and it is, but it wasn't some big, dramatic event. No sit-ins, no doctors leaning over his hospital bed with a clipboard and a sigh. It happened one afternoon while he was tying his shoes. He got halfway through the first one and had to stop. Not from pain, just fatigue. His hands shook, his breathing quickened, and he said it felt like gravity itself was heavier that day. And in that quiet pause, sitting on the edge of his bed, with one shoe on and one hand resting on his knee, it hit him. "I'm not going to live forever," he said out loud. He told me later it wasn't a sad thought. It wasn't even fear. It was clarity, pure, sharp, unforgettable. For the first time in his life, he felt the full weight of what it meant to be here, now, to have this breath, this moment, this day. And suddenly, all the little things he used to fuss about didn't matter anymore. It's funny how often we wait for some huge life event to wake us up. But sometimes, all it takes is tying your shoes. From that moment on, Ray changed how he moved through the world. It wasn't fast, it wasn't flashy, but it was intentional. And the shift was something you could feel just by sitting next to him. He said, "Thank you" more often, to the mailman, to the girl at the pharmacy, to his neighbor who once brought him a banana bread loaf for no reason at all. He said, "I'm proud of you," to his grandkids, even when all they did was finish their homework. And he said, "I love you," to people who maybe hadn't heard it from him in years. He started noticing things too, the way sunlight stretched across his kitchen counter in the morning, the smell of rain on hot pavement, the sound of birds that always seemed to argue in the same tree outside his window. He noticed because he knew his days of noticing were numbered. That's a lesson most of us don't get until it's almost too late. But here's the gift of hearing Ray's story now. You still have time to start noticing. You still have time to say the things that matter, to laugh when it counts, to feel the warmth of someone's hand, and actually be there in that moment. Not distracted, not rushing, not stuck in yesterday or tomorrow. It's easy to become numb to life's beauty when every day feels the same. But the moment you start looking again, it's like the world opens up. You realize how much joy is still within reach if you just stretch a little. Ray told me something else once, and I've never forgotten it. He said, "The older you get, the more invisible you feel unless you make the choice to stand in your own light." He didn't mean fame or attention. He meant purpose, passion, having something, anything, that pulls you out of bed in the morning, even if it's just feeding the birds or checking on a friend. That feeling of invisibility, a lot of folks over 60 know it too well. You walk into a store and no one looks up. You go to a party and end up in the quiet corner. You mention an opinion and get brushed aside because people think you wouldn't understand. But Ray's light came back when he stopped waiting to be seen and started seeing himself. He joined a book club. He learned how to use that confusing smartphone to send silly videos to his granddaughter. He even tried watercolor painting. His first one looked like a lopsided potato, but we clapped for it anyway. He became visible again because he chose to be, and you can too. Don't let the world shrink you down. Don't buy into the idea that your best years are behind you. That's just not true. There's still music to dance to, people to love, stories to tell, meals to savor, hands to hold, trees to sit under, mornings to wake up to. Every single day you're here is a day someone else didn't get. So live it, show up for it, own it. Ray didn't have a perfect life, far from it. But in his final chapter, he became the kind of person who lit up a room without even saying a word. He didn't do it by chasing youth. He did it by embracing the life he still had. And in the end, that's what made all the difference. Ray's story didn't end with a bang. There were no last-minute bucket list adventures or dramatic decorations. His final days were quiet, simple, and, according to him, just right. He spent more time on his porch, watching the sun go down. He smiled more. He read books he used to fall asleep halfway through. And one afternoon, he sat with his daughter in the backyard, watching the squirrels fight over who got the good branch. He looked at her and said, "I didn't do everything right, but I got this part right, being here." Now, that might sound small, but think about it for a second. How many people get to say that? How many people reach the end of their lives and feel present? Most folks are still chasing something, or running from something, or regretting something. Ray had all those moments too, but he chose to be where his feet were, and that was enough. See, we've been told for so long that aging is about slowing down, about losing things, mobility, memory, independence. But that's only one side of the story. What if aging is also about gaining something? Perspective, gratitude, clarity, peace. Ray once joked that getting older felt like peeling off layers. Ego, pride, nonsense, and finally getting the core of who he was. And that core was kind, thoughtful, imperfect, and honest. There's a strange kind of freedom that comes with age. If you let it, the freedom to stop proving yourself, the freedom to say no without explaining, the freedom to choose rest over hustle, the freedom to speak truth without worrying how it lands. Ray leaned into that freedom, and the result? He didn't feel small. He felt real, grounded, human. That's a legacy worth aiming for. Now, if you're still watching this and wondering, okay, but what should I do next? Here's my answer. Start small, but start. If you've been waking up with no reason to move, find one. Maybe it's watering a plant or taking a 5-minute walk while the coffee brews. If you've been feeling alone, call someone. Not to fix anything, just to say hi, just to remind them and yourself that you're still here. If your heart's been heavy with old regrets, say the words, write the letter, whisper it to the wind if you have to. Let it out. And if your days have started to blend together, shake one of them up, wear something different, rearrange a shelf, try a recipe, sing out loud, change the radio station. Anything to remind yourself that you're still writing this story. Because that's the point, really. This story isn't over. It doesn't matter if you're 60, 70, 80, or beyond. The moment you're in is still yours to shape. Still yours to fill with laughter, love, curiosity, and connection. There's no deadline for rediscovery. Ray passed away this morning, quietly, gently, but his life left a ripple. And now that ripple is reaching you. That's how legacies work. Not through statues or headlines, but through lives touched, even in passing. He taught me, and now hopefully you, that it's never too late to live fully. Not perfectly, not flawlessly, but fully. You don't need $1 million or a clean bill of health or some grand plan. You just need a little courage to try again, to open your eyes tomorrow morning and say, today counts. I count because you do. Every wrinkle, every memory, every scar, every smile. It's all part of your mosaic, and you're not done yet. You're still building something beautiful. So here's what I want to leave you with. Go love someone who needs it. Go forgive someone who hurt you. Go move your body just a little. Go laugh at something silly. Go be proud of how far you've come. And if you've got a moment to spare, leave a comment below. Tell us what part of Ray's story stayed with you, or share your own. Because someone else out there needs to hear that they're not alone in this journey. If you found value in this, give the video a like. And if you want more honest, uplifting conversations like this one, subscribe to the channel. There's so much more we can talk about together. And finally, from me to you, thank you for showing up today, for caring enough to listen, for being willing to reflect, even when it's not easy. Here's to living your best life at any age. You're not finished, you're just getting started.